The power that the theorist has to fortify an untenable position comes from his alliance with aesthetics. Now, aesthetics deals only with the eternal things, thus always comes too late in life. People call that conservative. But this is just as absurd as a conservative express train. The advantages that aesthetics assures the theorist are too great, however, for him to worry about this absurdity. There is so little grandeur in the sound of it. If the teacher tells the pupil, one of the most gratifying means for producing musical form is tonality. What a different impression it makes, though, if he speaks of the principle of tonality, as of a law, thou shalt, adherence to which shall be indispensable to all musical form. This word, indispensable, one can detect a whiff of eternity. Dare to feel otherwise, young artist, and you have them all against you, those who claim that I am merely saying what everybody knows. And they will call you Neo-Junker Unkraut, Wagner Die Meistersinger 1-3, Beckmesser's epithet expressing his hatred for Walter may be paraphrased as meddlesome upstart, disgusting pretender, and the like. They will call you Neo-Junker Unkraut and charlatan, and will slander you, you fake. You thought you could put something over on us. And when they have finished smearing you with their vulgarity, they will pose as those courageous men who would have thought it cowardly not to risk something in behalf of their views, something, that is, which only hurts the other. And in the end, you are the clod. To hell with all these theories. If they always serve only to block the evolution of art, and if their positive achievement consists in nothing more than helping those who will compose badly anyway to learn it quickly. What one could reasonably expect of them, the theorists, they do not fulfill. The form in which they practice aesthetics is indeed extremely primitive. It does not amount to much more than some petty talk. Yet the main thing the theorists have borrowed from aesthetics is the method of apodictic assertions and judgments. It is asserted, for example, that sounds good or bad, beautiful or not beautiful would be more correct and forthright. That assertion is first of all presumptuous. Secondly, though, it is an aesthetic judgment. If it is put forward unsupported, why then should we believe it? Should we trust in the authority of the theorist? Why then? If he offers no support for what he says, it is then either just something that he knows, that is, not what he himself has discovered, but rather what he has learned second-hand, or what all believe because it is experienced by all. Yet beauty is not something in the common experience of all, rather, at most, in the experience of individuals. Above all, however, if that sort of judgment could be accepted without further justification, then the justification would have to follow so necessarily from the system itself that to mention it would be superfluous. And here we have hit the theorist's most vulnerable spot. Their theories are intended to serve as practical aesthetics. They are intended to influence the sense of beauty in such a way that it will produce, for example, harmonic progressions whose effect can be regarded as beautiful. They are intended to justify the exclusion of those sounds and progressions that are esteemed not beautiful. But these theories are not so constructed that the aesthetic judgment follows as a consequence of their first principles, of the logical development of these principles. On the contrary, there is no coherence, absolutely no coherence. These judgments, beautiful or not beautiful, are entirely gratuitous excursions into aesthetics and have nothing to do with the logic of the whole. Parallel fifths sound bad. Why? This passing note sounds harsh. Why? There are no such things as ninth chords, or they sound harsh. Why? Where in the system can we find logical, mutually consistent answers to these three whys? In the sense of beauty? What is that? How is the sense of beauty otherwise related to this system? To this system, if you please. These systems. Elsewhere, Infra Chapter 17, Non-Harmonic Tones, for example. The entire book is a critique of musical systems in general, and the major-minor harmonic system in particular. Elsewhere, I will show how they have really never been just what they still could be, namely, systems of presentation, Darstellung. Methods by which a body of material is coherently organized and lucidly classified. Methods derived from principles which will assure an unbroken logic. I will show how quickly this system fails, how soon one has to break into it, patch up its holes with a second system, which is still no system, in order even halfway to accommodate the most familiar facts. It should be quite different. A real system should have, above all, principles that embrace all the facts. Ideally, just as many facts as there actually are, no more, no less. Such principles are natural laws, and only such principles, which are not qualified by exceptions, would have the right to be regarded as generally valid. Such principles would share with natural laws this characteristic of unconditional validity. The laws of art, however, consist mainly of exceptions. Nor have I been able to discover such principles either, and I believe they will not be discovered very soon. Attempts to explain artistic matters exclusively on natural grounds will continue to founder for a long time to come. Efforts to discover laws of art can then, at best, produce results something like those of a good comparison. That is, they can influence the way in which the sense organ of the subject, the observer, orients itself to the attributes of the object observed. In making a comparison, we bring closer what is too distant, thereby enlarging details, and remove to some distance what is too close, thereby gaining perspective. No greater worth than something of this sort can, at present, be ascribed to laws of art. Yet that is already quite a lot. The attempt to construct laws of art from common attributes should no sooner be omitted from a textbook of art than should the technique of comparison. But no one should claim that such wretched results are to be regarded as eternal laws, as something similar to natural laws. For, once again, the laws of nature admit no exceptions, whereas theories of art consist mainly of exceptions. What we do achieve can be enough, if it is given as a method of teaching, as a system of presentation, a system whose organization may aim, sensibly and practically, towards the goals of instruction, a system whose clarity is simply clarity of presentation, a system that does not pretend to clarify the ultimate nature of the things presented. I have aspired to develop such a system here, nothing more. I do not know whether I have succeeded or not. But it seems to me as if I have at least managed to escape those straits where no one has to concede exceptions. The principles of this system yield possibilities in excess of those that have actually been realized in music. Those systems that do not account for all the facts also have this shortcoming. Thus, I have to make exclusions, just as they do. However, they do it through aesthetic judgments. Something sounds bad, harsh, not beautiful, etc. They do not take the much more modest and truthful way, to affirm that the exclusions simply have to do with what is not common usage. What is really not beautiful could hardly be made to sound beautiful, certainly not in the sense these aestheticians intend. but what has merely not been common usage can very well become so, although it does not have to. And with this change in viewpoint, the teaching of composition is relieved of a responsibility that it could never have fulfilled, and can restrict itself to that which is really its task, to help the pupil attain such skills as will enable him to produce something of established effectiveness. It does not have to guarantee that what he produces will be new, interesting, or even beautiful. It can give assurance, however, that through attention to its directions the pupil can produce something which in its materials and techniques resembles older compositions, that is, up to the point where, even in the technical, mechanical aspects, the creative mind forsakes every conventional control. However much I may theorize in this book, for the most part, in order to refute false theories, I am compelled to expand narrow and confining conceptions to include the facts. However much I may theorize, I do so with constant and full awareness that I am only presenting comparisons, in the sense indicated above, symbols, which are merely intended to connect ideas apparently remote from one another, to promote intelligibility through coherence of presentation, and to stimulate the pupil to productive work by showing him the wealth of ways in which all facts relate to an idea, but not to set up new eternal laws. If I should succeed in teaching the pupil the handicraft of our art as completely as a carpenter can teach his, then I shall be satisfied. And I would be proud if, to adapt a familiar saying, I could say, I have taken from composition pupils a bad aesthetics and have given them in return a good course in handicraft.